Close that door. So you don't know. Okay, 501. How is everybody?
Good.
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 So how's it going?
Good.
Good.
Okay, it's going good?
Yeah, pretty good so far.
Well, hello, Stephen Murphy. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Just fine. Good to see you.
Yes, good seeing you as well.
Couple of things before we let's pause for a moment of silence. I know y'all could use a little rest, a breather. Okay, let's get this show on the road. First thing I want to remind you is to remind your clinical teachers to register with Lynn. She sent that information out, so make sure that your clinical teacher has submitted his or her personal information to Ms. Sutton. It's important that we have that information towards the end of the internship so that we can take care of the personal business that we need to with them. So make sure you've done that. If you are on this line and you haven't taken or sent me your Praxis course score, please do so. I certainly would hate to have to in December to pull you out of line. So please make sure that is done. I had anticipated a clinical teacher meeting after your meeting, but I will probably do that one day next week. So let them know that it's coming. I will Zoom with them. Probably, do you think most of them are in place by 5? That they can Zoom at 5? Or do you think they'd rather just stay at school and Zoom around 3:30, 4 o'clock? What do you think?
I know that my teacher won't be home by 5 o'clock.
Okay.
But I think that she would probably be able to Zoom at the school prior to leaving.
That's what I would think. It'd be better for them to do it at school rather than at 6 o'clock when they're at home. But I'll do either one. And I hate
Okay.
for somebody to sit around school until 6 o'clock for Zoom. And lots of times, depending on where you live, the internet is probably faster at work than it is at home. I don't know. It is for us sometimes here. Any other suggestions?
I have a Zoom meeting tomorrow at 3 p.m. Is this for the same
That's
topic?
just for your group. That's for your New Jersey group.
Okay, so that's regarding the same question for everybody right now?
No, yours is different. When I send out the, since you'll have one tomorrow, and I will meet your clinicals and your professor, if they want to chime in on the one that I'm going to have next week, they can. It's not going to hurt them, but because what you will get tomorrow is what all of these people have already had.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
My teacher.
Emily, you are breaking up. Let's see if I can. Okay, Emily.
I sent a message.
Okay. My school does not let out until 4. She has planning at 3. Okay. Okay. I'll try to videotape it for everybody and then try to put it so they can get it. That'll be the best thing to do. So let's move on. Any challenges that you like to share? Does anybody have any challenges that they would like to share?
I can't think of any.
Oh, you can't? Oh, wow. Okay. Anybody else?
I'm actually having some challenges with the task 2.
We're going to go over that.
I'm in pre-K, and so our assessments look totally different than, normal grade level.
Mhm.
And so, I'm just having a hard time because, we don't do the same thing. And so the requirements, well, we're still supposed to assess the children and make sure that they're learning. It doesn't fit every aspect of what we're required for EPA Task 2.
We didn't receive that from ETS. So what I need you to do is go into the library of examples and look for the early childhood education examples.
Okay.
Okay, and see what they've done. I think you need to do that. Just do that. And then if that doesn't help you, let me know, and then we'll scratch to see what we can find.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Tiffany. Anything else, anybody? Okay. I think I looked over a few of your resiliency test quizzes that you took, and some of you didn't explain your results, so your grade will not reflect. That should have been a 100. So anyway, your grade didn't reflect what it should have. So let's see what we want to do first. PPAT, I guess. Let me see if I can
I just put a question in the chat box about that. I'm not sure if you can hear me or not.
Okay, chat box. Okay, Kaylee, I have a question about an assignment we turned in. The student was, okay, survey had 2 drop boxes. I only submitted it into one since they are the same, but it was graded as a 0 and 1. Was it one for you and one for the students?
It was, I gave it because on the Dropbox it said to choose one of the 2 resiliency surveys, so I chose one of them, and it said to give it to 2 students, so I gave it to 2 students, and then I submitted the results from it into the Dropbox.
I'll check it for you.
But there was 2 Dropboxes.
I didn't think I have a 1, but I will check it. I would more than likely.
Yeah, because
I'll
I got
check
an
it, and if
email.
there's a mistake, I'll correct it for you.
Okay, because I have an
Okay.
email saying that it was submitted, so.
Okay, not a problem. Resiliency survey.
Yes.
I will check that for you.
Okay.
I also put a question in there.
I also thought it was due by 12. Well, I'll go back. It's okay. I just had a chance to check today and I did. So if you put it in, if you upload it today, you'll be fine. It's not really by 12 midnight. It's by your class time today, but I'm not going to argue about that. And I may have put 12. I'll check the time. That's okay. Check the time.
I think it's
I will check the assignment submission time. So they're usually due, where our class is at 5, it should be due by 5:00 p.m. So I can work that out. I won't penalize anybody if I had the incorrect time there. I will fix that for you. I don't know why I keep losing my PPAT. So give me a minute, let me find it so we can go over that. Hello, baby. Oh, let's see. Okay, y'all see the screen?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, let's look at building and submitting tasks. We're just going to run through task 2 and task 3 for guiding prompts. And to remind you that your task 2 and task 3 are both due October the 10th to your professor to give you time to give them time to look at it before it's submitted on the 17th. Is that understood? Okay, we're moving on. We're on task 2 already. Let's look at the requirements. Okay, task 2, of course, is assessment and data collection to measure and inform student teaching. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 artifacts. You would need 1 representative page from a selected assessment, whatever your assessment is going to be. You would need a representative page of baseline data for the whole class. You will do whatever assignment or whatever you use to determine what your baseline data would be. You need to upload that. A scoring rubric, you should know how to develop those for the assessment that you've given. A page for baseline data for your focus student 1, 1 page for focus student 2, and a representative page of a graphic representative pages from your graphic organizer or graphic representation. It could be a spreadsheet, a pie chart, it could be a table. Any way that you collected the data, it must be a visual presentation, okay, to show. Say, for example, you had 20 students to take the assessment and you had 10 or 50% that's just simple. 50% passed and 50% didn't. So you should have a graph that shows the 50% that did and the 50% that didn't. That's all that is. And you can use whatever form of visual representation that you feel is best. And then the completed assessments for focus students 1 and 2. Okay. You should be familiar with this page of the steps: planning the assessment, administering the assessment, and analyzing the data, and your reflection. And the contextual information, if you move down, there's the overview, and your response must be limited to 1,500 characters. In this box, if you did that with task 1, then you can just transfer it here if you have the same students. Describe your classroom, include grade level, content area, subject matter, number of students. Provide relevant information about any of your students with special needs. Describe any physical, social, behavioral, or developmental factors, and describe any factors related to the school and surrounding community that may impact the teaching and learning that occurs in your classroom. And of course, there's your response box. Let's look at step 1, planning the assessment. Text box 211, selecting a single assessment. Let's look at the guiding prompts. Before we do that, in developing the assessment,
My screen is still stuck where you clicked on the Task 2 requirements PDF. It hasn't loaded since then.
okay,
Mine as well.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know what to say.
Is there any way to refresh it?
I will see. Trying. Anything?
Yes, thank you.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
we're good.
Step 1, planning the assessment. We're all there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
In developing your assessment, you should assess the state and/or the national content standards. We all know that. We've done lesson plans. Assess the learning goals. You know what the goals are based on your content standards. And of course, we talked about the rubric. Okay. Provide an in-depth description of the assessment. Describe your assessment, do it thoroughly, and provide a rationale for choosing designing the assessment based on its alignment with the standards and the learning goals that meets the needs, the student needs. So why did you use this assessment? Now listen, you do not have to develop an assessment. You can use one that's already in the textbook. If you're doing math, most of the times math books have assessments. And if you use that, just tell why you use that one and how it relates to the objective. You do not have to reinvent the wheel. What data did you use to establish a baseline for student growth related to this lesson? So how did you determine the baseline data for student growth that would help you to move to where you are? Was there an assessment that was done on the previous goal, the previous objective, the previous unit that said, okay, 85% of the students mastered the preliminary goal leading to this one? Say, for example, you did 2-digit, adding 2 Kayam numbers, okay? 2-digit numbers. Now you're moving to 3-digit. So you may want to say, go back and look at that previous post-assessment, say, this is where we are. 85% of our students mastered, or 90%, so it's time to move on. You might want to tell us what that assessment was, or whatever it was that you used to establish baseline data. Describe the rubric, your scoring guide that you selected or the one that you designed, and tell how it aligns with your learning goals and how will you communicate its use to your students. Now try to remember that whenever you are using a rubric to grade an assignment, it's good to share it with the students, but sometimes there's some students who can't take a rubric. So if you have students who may not necessarily want to see the rubric because it makes them anxious, so they may not need to see it. So it just depends on your class. If all of them would like to see it, say, okay, this is what I need to do in order to make an A, and that's where I'm going to focus. Hey, that's what you want. So you can share it with them or not, but it does say how does it align and how will you communicate it to the students. If you don't show it to them, you can tell it to them. What evidence of student learning do you plan to collect from the assessment? What evidence of student learning do you plan to collect from the assessment? That they did or did not master the goal, and what was that goal? You would want to include it here. And how will you collect that data and provide a rationale for data collection? 212, y'all there? Are y'all 212 preparing learners for the assessment?
Yes.
Okay. The guiding prompt, what learning activities and student groupings will you use during the assessment, if any? Provide a rationale for your choices. If you don't use any, you need to explain why you didn't use any. What materials, resources, and technology will you use to administer the assessment? Is there any except paper and pencil? Hopefully so, but if it's not, you need to be specific. And then tell why you use that particular method. Text box 213, the two focus students. Choose and describe two focus students who reflect different learning needs, and they don't have to be exceptional children, okay? They do not have to be exceptional children. And then they could, you might do a student who's resourced, and then you might do an academically gifted student. Now, don't shy away from academically gifted students, because a lot of times they're not challenged to their highest potential. So you don't have to, and you can do a student maybe who's resourced out for something special, and then a normal average student who has a different learning need. And a different learning need could be that the student's not resourced, but he just might have a visual impairment, but he's not resourced for that, okay? Or she hearing, or something like that. So it doesn't have to be that they are outsourced to a special class, so keep that in mind. And a rationale as to why you selected that student. Refer to them as Focus Student 1 and Focus Student 2. And I think most of you probably attended the PPAT session, right?
Yeah.
From ETS. Okay, so we're just going to run through these because she talked a lot about some of this. What data did you use to establish a baseline for growth for the two focus students? And based on the specific learning needs, how will you modify the assessment for each of the two focus students and provide a rationale? Step 2, text box 221, analysis of assessment data and student learning for the whole class. Guide and prompt. A, based on your baseline data and data shown in your graphic representation, analyze the assessment data to determine your students' progress and how efficient was your data collection process. They want you to cite examples and then describe how you had your students engaged in analyzing their own assessment. You know, a long time ago, teachers used to have what they call goal setting meetings or meetings with the students so they can determine what they did or did not do and where they want to move on from there. Okay, so just have a conversation with your students. Okay, that looks like task 2 is done. So let me see if I can manage to go back. I don't know where this is going to take me. I'll figure that. And make sure you look at your rubric. This is task 3. It's designing instruction for student learning. Let me know if you're not up with me. I'm on your artifact page. Yes?
Yeah.
Thank you. Representative pages of a lesson plan for the whole class. You have a maximum of 2 pages. Representative page of a differentiated lesson plan for your focus student 1 and 2. And work samples from any class. You can select any student and submit a work sample. And then your work samples for 1 and 2. So I guess what they're looking at will probably be 3. They will probably compare to see if how they are different. That's what I would assume. Okay, then of course you have that same 1,500 character commentary that you can cut and paste. It's the same one that you can use. Okay, lesson planning the lesson, text box 311, standards and learning goals. The guide and prompts, what learning theories or methods will guide your planning process, and then provide a brief description of the theory or the method and how you will make use of it. What learning goals, the content standards or national standards did you identify? Go back to your lesson plan. And how will they guide the planned learning activities? Okay, that's simple enough. What's the content focus of the lesson? And what related content that the students have previously encountered will support the learning in this lesson? What did you do before that led you to this lesson? Sometimes there are pacing guides, so you know, if you can explain that this is the order and why it falls where it does. What are some difficulties students might encounter with the content? And then how will you address those? So it's gonna just take you some time to think through some things. And then of course the required artifacts.
Now with task 2 and 3, if there's section that requires some previous information, you said it's okay to copy and paste?
Task 2 and 3 requires what now?
If it requires information from a previous text box or task, we can just carry on our work.
You can, it's your work, as long as it's your work, you can copy and paste, but probably the only, for this one, for this part,
Yes.
you can copy and paste that. That's the issue. If it's the same group of students, it should be the same information. So that one should be done for you. You can copy and paste that verbatim because it's yours.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. 312, what different instructional strategies do you plan to use to engage students? And we talked about instructional strategies and provide a rationale for that strategy. How do the instructional strategy connect to the learning goal that will help facilitate the student learning? And what informed your decision to use individual, if you used it, small group or whole group instruction? Okay, tell which one of those you use and why. And make sure you go back and find some research to support your answer. Text box 313, learning activities, instructional strategy. Now that's how you're going to teach the lesson. And the learning activity is what you're going to give the student so that he or she can master that goal. Y'all understand that? Instructional strategy is what you use to teach the skill, and the learning activity is what the student will use to, I would say, learn the activity or master the activity. What learning activity do you plan to implement in the lesson? Need a rationale. How will this learning activity address the strengths and the needs? And how did your class demographics inform the design of the learning activities you selected? Okay? The class demographics. What did the class demographics have to do with the learning activity that you selected? Okay. Most of you, if you were in 303, I think we may have, I don't know if we did that activity or not. There was an activity that discussed that there was a library of example that talks about the students were low socioeconomic, and you know, a lot of times they don't have access to the internet. So there was an activity, maybe something like a trip around the world, because they knew that the students didn't have access to the internet. So that would allow them to be able to see the different areas of the world by embedding that into a lesson. So just make sure that you indicate how your demographics inform your choice for the learning activity. Okay, the focus student, identify focus student one's strengths and challenges related to the goals, and describe how you would differentiate parts of the lesson plan. It didn't say the whole entire lesson plan, but parts of the lesson plan to meet the goals, and tell us why, and what evidence will you collect to show, okay? And you do the same thing for focus student 2, focus student 1, focus student 2, you will do the same. And then analysis of instruction. Guiding prompt. To what extent did the lesson include instructional strategies? That's how you taught it. Learning activities, that's what the student did. Materials, resources, and technology help to facilitate the student learning. If I were you, I would take each one of those and tell how it helped to facilitate the student learning. How did the instructional strategy that you select help your students? How did the learning activity help? And then it says, for the resources and the materials. And how does the evidence you collect to support your finding? Did it work? Did the instructional strategy work? And if so, then tell us why. How did the students use the content presented to demonstrate meaningful learning? And it says, provide specific examples from the lesson and from the student work to support your analysis. Okay, so you got to have examples with that. While you were teaching, what adjustments to the lesson did you implement for the whole class to better support student engagement and learning? While you were teaching those 3 digits, did you find that the students were not getting it? So did you stop and start over? Anyway, you should provide an example to support whatever decision it was that you made. What steps did you take to foster teacher to student and student to teacher interactions, back and forth, you and me and them? All right. How did they impact the student engagement and learning? And what feedback did you provide during the lesson to facilitate student learning? And what impact did the feedback have on student learning? And I hate to read this to you, but I want to go over it with you. And I know you're intelligent and can read it. But if anybody asks, I want to say I did go over it with them. Task 3.3.2. To what extent did each of the two focus students achieve the learning goal? That's easy. You know, did they or did they not? And do your percentages. Student 1 had 70% correct. Student 2 had 80% correct. Just analyze that information. And how did your differentiation of specific parts of the lesson help each of the two students meet the learning goals that you had indicated? And then provide examples. And then, of course, it's reflecting. What specific instructional strategies, learning activities, materials, resources, and technology will you use to help students who did not achieve the learning goals? So now you got to go back, because this is the purpose of this. Reflect. What would you do differently in order to help those students to be successful? And describe how these lesson components will help these students achieve the learning goals. How will you use your analysis of the lesson and evidence of student learning to guide your planning for future lessons in that classroom? And then, of course, I want you to provide some examples. The last one, 3.4.2, how will you use your analysis of the lesson and evidence of student learning to guide your planning for future lessons for those two students? What would you use? What can you do? What have you learned in order to continue to help those students? Okay? Are there any questions? Take your time, read it, go back and look at your rubric, okay? Go back and look at your rubric. So Tyra's still with me. I'm taking attendance because some folk on left has gone away. Stephen is still with me.
Yes.
Angela's still here. Thank y'all. I appreciate it. Kaylee is still here. Jessica is still here. Good. Thank y'all. Because the rest of them are going to be up the creek. All right. I have a video and I'm not going to replay it. So what I need you to do is watch the video, and I have a place for you to submit your exit ticket. Are there any questions? It's called The Effective Teacher. It's a heavy one. It seems to be a 1970, but it's okay because the information is really good. Are y'all seeing this, or do I need to reshare?
Reshare it.
Reshare, please.
Okay. Y'all got it?
Okay, now I think I see it.
Okay, thank you. This is for your exit ticket.
I truly believe that every single teacher can be effective. Do you know how to manage a classroom so that it is a well-oiled learning machine? Teaching is when you can get your students to learn. Do you know how to teach for learning? If your expectation is that each and every single student will and can learn, they will succeed. Every single student comes to school every single day with an unlit candle. And it is their expectation that you and I light that candle. How many of you in here have ever taught that wonderful age called junior high school? Oh, thank you. I've taught them psychosexual adolescence. Hormones on feet. I taught them part-time. And if you've ever taught them part-time, if you ever taught junior high school students, you know why I only have taught them part-time. And I taught them in a self-contaminated classroom. And prior to that, I taught high school for 17 years. Then I gave all of this up about 3-4 years ago. And I'm watching all of you add real fast. 17 years high school, 17 years junior high school, and a few years ago. Holy smokes. That's 37 years I've just added up. I mean, the guy doesn't look a day over 39. That nice looking young fellow has been teaching for 37 years. I know you don't believe me. And after 35 plus years as a classroom teacher, you too can look as healthy, happy, and free of stress. Why? Because one day I learned how to run a classroom. And that's the subject of today's talk. How to run a very effective, successful classroom, and so that when you leave, you will be very happy and fulfilled. And that's the subject of today's talk. No fancy schmancy. We're just going to talk about how to be a very effective classroom teacher. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm simply going to show you slides. We're going to show you slides of classrooms, and you're going to see some very effective classrooms. And if you see anything you like, do me a favor, do yourself a favor, steal these ideas. They are not copyrighted. They don't belong to me. All of these ideas have been stolen. Now, if there are any good, effective teachers in here, you understand that concept. How did you become a very effective, successful teacher? Of course, you went to conferences, you went to meetings, you read professional journals, but you all learned the secret to becoming an effective teacher, right? You walk into other classrooms, and you look around, you look around, you look around, you look around, and if you see something that works, you go, gimme, 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 gimme. You beg, you borrow, and you steal. You are looking at the biggest burglar in the entire world. And so if you don't like this speech, I won't feel bad. You know why? Because none of the stuff belongs to me anyway. In fact, a whole bunch of people walk out of here saying, this guy is crazy. Okay, I would never use these things. All right, 3 million Wongs in the world, and I still haven't heard one right yet. Do you know there's 3 million Wongs in the world? Largest family name in the entire world. That's right. There are more Wongs than Smiths. You don't believe me? Check the San Francisco phone book. 19 columns of Wongs in the San Francisco phone book. 15 columns of Smiths. We outnumber the Smiths by 4 columns. But you know what the Smiths tell me? Sure, Harry, there may be more Wongs than Smiths, but the Smiths, we have you beat. We come in more different colors. Half a column alone of Harry Wongs in the San Francisco phone book. My students never call me at night for help. If they tried to find me for help, they'd probably wind up winging the Wong Wong. One day, Mr. Wong comes home, and Mrs. Wong greets him with the new baby. Oh, he's so proud of his new baby. And all of a sudden, he says, wait a minute, something's wrong. The baby, it's white. 2 Wongs don't make a white. Are you explaining that one to her? I'll wait. And she said, sorry, pregnancy was accidental. Let's have an understanding right now, and that is, you're all good teachers. But that's not the point that I want to talk about today. The point is, are you successful at what you're doing? You may be good at what you do, but are you successful at what you're doing? For instance, some of you I know are very, very good singers, but are you successful as a singer? Could you cut a record? Could you go to Broadway? Could you get yourself on a show? You see, I am a very good cook, but I would never be a successful restaurant owner or chef. So we all are good at things, but are you successful at what you're doing? I am here today to talk about not whether you're a good teacher or not. You are a good teacher. Let's have that as an understanding. I'm simply saying, are you successful? Are you effective? And are you very, very happy at being a classroom teacher? I truly believe that you can. And that's why I'm here today to share with you how you can be a very effective, successful, and happy teacher. I'm curious, is there anyone in here, this is your very, 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 very first year as a classroom teacher. You are a brand new neophyte teacher. May I see a show of hands, please? Oh, look at them. Yay! We know something about you. You put up your hand. Phi Delta Kappa, they publish a magazine called The Kappan. They also publish a series of paperbacks called the Fastbacks, and number 237 in the series is entitled The Induction of Brand New Teachers, written by a Yale University professor. And this is what the Yale University professor says, that all teachers possibly go through 4 stages in their lifetime. I said possibly. They don't go through all 4, but all teachers definitely go through the first 2. All teachers go through number 1, especially the brand new teachers. Every brand new teacher starts teaching with a state called fantasy. Fantasy means that when they show up in class every single day, there will be no problems, no one will be tardy. When they walk in every single day, they get a standing ovation. They start to read a story, and the students sit there mesmerized. And 20 minutes later, the teacher says, we have to stop. We got to go on demand. And the students say, no, more. That's called a fantasy. And the professor says, fantasy lasts at the most until Thanksgiving. And for some of you, you never made it past the first week.
The pouch the other way. You need to lay that way.
The first week of school, some of these students start saying things to you and doing things to you that they never told you about at the schools of education. And all of a sudden, on Thursday of the first week of school, you go from fantasy to survival. You start doing things to just make it through the day. Anything. I got 19 more years to go until I take early retirement. Harry Wong. What do you mean, make it through the day, Harry Wong? How about just make it through 55 more minutes, 1 more class period? May I share with you the two most common forms of survival practiced by classroom teachers. Number one, practiced principally by elementary school teachers. It is called worksheets. Sit there and fill out the worksheet. Do not talk to anyone. I want some peace and quiet around here. And while you're filling out that worksheet, I gotta find another worksheet. Anything to keep them quiet. And now I want to share with you the second most common form of survival, practiced by secondary teachers. It is called the textbook. Monday, open your book to chapter 17. I want silent reading. Do not talk to anyone. I want some peace and quiet around here. And if you want some help, I'll be sitting at my desk. Tuesday, open your book to chapter 17. I want you to outline the chapter. Do not talk to anyone. I want you to outline the chapter. I want some peace and quiet around here. If you want some help, I'll be sitting at my desk. Wednesday, here's some questions I wrote at the very last second this morning. In the faculty workroom, I was unprepared. I opened the book to chapter 17, and I said, oh, here's a question. Oh, here's another question. I don't know what I'm doing, but here's another question. Here's another question. Answer the question. Do not talk to anyone. I want some peace and quiet around here. If you want some help, I'll be sitting at my desk. Thursday, I am now going to lecture to you. Are you all ready for the lecture? I want your undivided attention. Do not talk while I lecture. Are you ready for the lecture? Good. Here we go. I am now going to transfer notes from my notebook to your notebook, bypassing the brains of both of us. You think that one is funny? Here comes the funniest one of them all. Friday, here's a video. It kind of matches. What do you mean why I'm showing last days of Pompeii in an algebra class? Look for the Roman numerals. Look for the Roman numerals. Now, that's the most classic form of survival. I need to share with you that in 35 years as a classroom teacher, I have never once heard a college professor, never once heard an administrator, never once heard anyone ever tell me that that's the way to teach school. Have you? No. That's not teaching school. Here's the book, read the chapters, answer the questions, listen to me lecture, fill out the worksheet, watch a video, and every other week, based on time, because I need 50 points, here's the desk. That's not teaching. There's actually no research to support that model, and that's the most common form of survival. And so I would like to say something to the teachers who put up their hands. We give you permission to survive. It is a normal thing all teachers go through. And if you don't understand or you don't believe us, the reason we're all laughing in here is because we've all done it. That's why we're laughing. We all know what we did at one time. We give you permission to survive. We give you permission to muck it up for a year or two. But the reason we're all here is we're here to help you and support you because we don't want you to stay in survival. Because I think I need to say something to you who put up your hands. When you go to your campuses, if you haven't already discovered it, there are some people on the staff who have now been teaching 10, 20, 30 years, and they are still surviving. And so I have something to say to those of you who put up your hands. I am not here today to tell anyone what to do. I'm simply here to share in the hopes that you will steal. I only have a question for you, teachers. What do you want to be when you grow up? Do you want to be one of these people who've been teaching for 20, 30 years, just don't want it? They hate coming to school. They don't even like the kids anymore. They're angry people. And they're trapped. Is that what you want to be? Trapped? They're about 45 years old now. They've put 20 years into the teaching system. They've got 20 years built into the retirement system. They can't leave, but they're only 45 years old. They can't leave. Retirement is nowhere on the horizon. So brand new teachers, is that what you want to be? 20 years from now, trapped? So what happened to these people? Because they are good people too. They came into education just like you, full of fantasies, full of dreams. And what happened to their fantasies? What happened to their dreams? Stick around. I'd like to share with you, because to those people, I truly believe, to every single one of you in here, I truly believe that every single teacher can be effective. And that's the subject of this presentation. How each and every one of us can be a master teacher, which is level number 3. And you will know when you become a master teacher, because when you become a master teacher, you will concomitantly at the very same time make an impact or a difference on the lives of the students that you teach. And so what in the world then is an effective teacher? So let's define that term right now. You've all gone into a bank, you come out of Russia, you come out of a store, and you have a smile on your face. And someone's waiting for you in the car, and you say, and that person says, "What are you smiling for?" You say, "Oh, I love to go in that place. It's so much fun to go in that place. The people in there, they're so efficient." Now, what do you mean when you say the people in there, they're so efficient? It means they know what they're doing. They do the right things. You like it when people do the right things, right? Right. Now, when people do the right things consistently, over and over and over again, they are called effective people. You expect all the nurses, you expect all the plumbers, you expect all the flight attendants, you expect everyone in the world to be efficient and effective, right? Right. Well, I got news for you, my fellow colleagues. When those people pay their taxes and put their kiddies into our schools, they expect you and I, administrators and teachers, to also be efficient and effective. That is, we need to know what to do and to do the right things under the children so that they can be a success. And you will never make an impact. You will never make a difference. You will never affect the lives of the students you teach unless you know what you are doing. And so today, I am here to share with you what it is that effective teachers do to make them very effective master teachers. And there's no secret to it. There it is. You are looking at the outline of today's presentation. It is that simple a presentation. Those are the 3 characteristics of a very, very effective teacher. There are only 3 things you need to do to be an effective teacher. Now, notice nowhere up there does it say a single thing about grade level. Notice nowhere up there does it say a single thing about discipline or subject matter. I am not here to tamper with your grade level. I am not here today to tamper with whatever subject you are teaching. I am here, if you choose to do so, I'm here to help you to be a much more effective second grade teacher, algebra teacher, phys ed coach, whatever it is you do. And if you want to be an effective teacher, there it is. Good and Brophy were the researchers. It's been validated over and over and over again. The 3 characteristics of an effective teacher are: you have to be an extremely good classroom manager. You need to know how to run that classroom. The book has nothing to do with it. I know that it's important. The video has nothing to do with it. I know that's very important. But you've got to know how to run and manage a classroom. For instance, you may have Aunt Gigi's best recipe for ribs, but that's not going to make you a successful restaurant owner. Hire someone else to barbecue the ribs. Do you know accounting procedures, bookkeeping procedures, income tax procedures? Do you know federal, state, local regulations? Do you know customer relationship, union relationship, employee relationship, and a whole lot of other things designed to run and manage a restaurant? Just because you have a degree in English does not make you an English teacher. Do you know how to manage a classroom so that your classroom is not a zoo? It is a well-oiled learning machine. I would like to share with you how it's done. In fact, most of the presentation today is going to be on classroom management, because if you can't manage a classroom, you can't do all those wonderful things you want to do, and you have now resorted to survival. Characteristic number 2 of a master teacher, of an effective teacher, is you know how to teach for learning. You know how to teach for mastery. You know how to teach for accomplishment. This is not teaching now. I've already shown you. Here's the book, here's the lecture, watch the video, here's the test. That's not teaching. Teaching is when you can get your students to learn. Do you know how to teach for learning? Teaching has to do with getting your students to accomplish, getting your students to master, and so that is what I'm going to do there. Very simply, all I'm going to do in number 2 is, number 1, I'd like to share with you how I give assignments. Effective teachers know how to write an assignment. Know that I give my students 70 assignments a year, and 95% of my students turn in the homework. And if you're curious how it's done, stick around. Then at the end of the assignment, we all do it. It's common sense. We all give a test. We all give some kind of an evaluation device. And then characteristic number 3 of a very, very effective teacher is all effective teachers practice what are called positive or high expectations, which is the opposite of negative or low expectations. It's the research of Robert Rosenthal and Lenora Jacobson, South San Francisco. 1950s, Robert Rosenthal was a professor of psychology at Harvard University. And they went out to South San Francisco and they convinced a group of teachers of a lie. You see, the research was based on if you can get these teachers to believe this lie, they will make this expectation or they will make this belief a self-fulfilling prophecy. And the first lie they told them was that you were the 5 best teachers here. That was a lie. And the second lie they told them was that they had identified all the good, bright students in their school who were potential late bloomers. And someday they were going to become very, very gifted students. And we'd like to give them all to you as your reward for being the best teachers here. Would you like them? They said, yeah, give them all to us. Under one condition. And what's that condition? At no time can you ever tell these students they've been tested, proven, late bloomers who someday will become gifted children. Is that agreed upon? That's agreed upon. Therefore, since you are the 5 best teachers here, and they are the best students here, we know and we expect that at the end of the school year, they'll do real good. Go. 180 days later, they looked at the test scores, and lo and behold, those students increased their IQ scores 8 more points than the other students in the control group. They turned to the 5 teachers and said, congratulations. They said, what for? I mean, we didn't do anything. I mean, you gave us the best students in the school. It was so easy. And they said, can we talk? We regret to inform you that we lied to you. Before the school year began, we took your grade book and we arbitrarily marked 20% of the students and told you they were all potential late bloomers who were going to become gifted students. Oh. Then it must be us. It must be. You said we're the 5 best teachers here. It must be us. And they said, can we talk? We regret to inform you that we lied to you again. Before the school year began, we put all the teachers' names into a shoebox. And you 5 were the first 5 we pulled out. Now, if you know anything about research, ask the science teachers, they'll explain this one to you. You can only have one variable in an experiment. And the variable in this experiment was not the student, it was not the teacher, it was not the administration. It was not skin color, it was not height, it was not gender, it was not church background, it was not financial background, none of those things. There was only one variable in that entire experiment. And what was it? Expectation. Whatever you expect of the students, whatever you expect of the team, whatever you expect of the spring play cast is exactly what will happen. And I know what I'm talking about. You see, you are looking at a product of positive expectation. Me, little Harry Wong. There are 3 million of us, my fellow colleagues, who are classroom teachers. I'm just another teacher, just like you. Have I said anything revolutionary new? No. Will I say anything revolutionary new? No. You could give this speech. You could be up here. You could be having the time of your life doing what I do. I get to travel the world. I get to meet nice people like you. I get to visit wonderful places in the world. You can do this too. So why me? Why me? What did I do to deserve this? I know. Before I was 5 years old, my mother and my father did a job on me. You see, I am a product of positive expectation. I can still hear my mother. Thank you, Mother. Thank you very much, Mom. I love you. I can still hear my mother. She ran this record by me every single day. She not only ran this record by me every single day, she convinced my neighbors and my relatives to ask me the same question every single day. And so no matter where I went, I heard this question every single day. Little Harry Wong, when you grow up, what kind of a doctor are you going to grow up to be? I wasn't even in kindergarten. They were all asking me what I was going to specialize in when I graduated from medical school. And I'd say, I don't know. And they turn to me and say, you're going to be a brain surgeon, aren't you? You see, they expected me to grow up to be a brain surgeon. They said, we're not going to produce a proctologist in this family. You are going to grow up to be the ultimate of doctors. You are going to be a brain surgeon. And then the second group of people I want to pay tribute to are my elementary school teachers. Bless you, elementary teachers. I got a new one back there in San Francisco many, many years ago, but it made no difference who I got. They all played the same record. And you all know the record because when I go like this, I want louder recitation from all the 1,100 of you. They said, students, when you grow up in America, you can be anyone you want to be. You can even be President of the United States. Ooh, that's good recitation. You see, my teachers expected me to grow up to be a leader in this world. My parents expected me to be a brain surgeon. I have just paid tribute to the two most important group of people on the face of the earth. By how you live your life at home, parents, and by how you live your life at school, administrators and teachers, so shall your children at home and so shall the students at your school grow up to be like you. Either someone with very, very positive expectations or someone with very, very negative or low expectations. And so which one of the two are you? Because if you come to school with negative expectations, that's exactly what will happen. And I hear this. It's very common, unfortunately, that I hear this. I hear teachers say, well, you know, Harry, these kids, they don't want to learn anything. To which I feel like saying to this person, you mean every single one? But that's what you're saying when you say these kids, they don't want to learn anything. You mean every single one, every last single one, year after year? Because that's what you're saying. And if that's what you're saying, you believe that. And if you believe that, you will make that belief an expectation, a self-fulfilling prophecy. Even if they want to learn, you believe they don't want to learn. And as a result, you have no one to blame but yourself because you believe they all don't want to learn. And then there are some of us in this room who truly believe that if you give your students more than they ever expected, you will get back from them more than you ever expected. Now, I need to share one more thing with you, and that is the students come to school with expectations. This is something most teachers never hear about, but students come to school with expectations, just as you and I have expectations. I think I need to share with you that every single student comes to school every single day with an unlit candle. And it is their expectation that you and I light that candle of theirs. And so they come to school with an expectation. And the ones who really want their candles lit are the ones who are not succeeding very well. They have an expectation. What's your expectation?
Okay. That's awesome. You did a good job. There's a lot there. So just complete your summary and upload it to the Moodle shell. I kept you a little long, but from 5 to 6 an hour, that's good. All right. Any questions? Okay.
Not at
Y'all
the
good?
moment. Yes.
I guess, right?
Yes.
Okay. Good night.
Is this recording going to be sent to me via email?
Okay.